Hi everyone, today I would like to quickly discuss The Enchanted by Rene Denfeld. This is a wonderful book that I deeply loved. I think it's a book that has a lot of relevance nowadays and probably forever. I think it has an everlasting enchantment. The topics that it discusses are quite rooted on the thematic some of the subject matters can seem really thematic, like death row and prison or the life of an inmate, because it is, in a level, about those topics. So it can seem like a very thematic kind of book, like a book about death row and the inmates in this prison, but I don't think that's the case. I think that's just one of the topics that Rene Denfeld is using or is talking about, but really the themes or the central subject matter of this book to me was a lot deeper, and I think it has an everlasting quality, such as responsibility, freedom, guilt, blame, of course, mental health, which is another issue that sort of is reflected or involved in all the others. Certainly life and death and vulnerability. So therefore, I think this book is incredibly timeless, eternal, and I think it can really speak to a lot of people, not just people who want to read about death row necessarily. So there are no spoilers in this discussion, so feel free to continue watching all the way through this video. The Enchanted by Rene Denfeld is a book, yes, about death row. It's about this prison and the death row dungeon where these prisoners live. So we follow the lives of the inmates, narrated by one of the inmates on death row himself. And some people claim this novel to be magical realism or to be heavily influenced by magical realism or containing a lot of magical realism elements in it, but I disagree. I think that the elements that could seem like magical realism in this novel are really more of a, I don't know how to call it, maybe like a poetic instrument, some kind of metaphorical license, imagery. I don't know how to call it necessarily. I'm not a very literary person myself, but I do know, or I do get the feeling that throughout this book there are some elements like the horses that are depicted in the cover, and some others that the character who narrates uses not just to convey something very poetically, and I think Rene Denfeld does write very poetically, but I think it has a lot to do with his disorder, his mental health disorder. I think disorder is a very problematic word, and I don't like using it particularly in a novel like this, but suffice it to say that I think that this character was really experiencing, in a way, the things that he saw and the things that he was relating to us, the reader. So I don't necessarily think this is magical realism, but that made me love it even more because it made me connect to this character in another level. So to wrap things up, I think Rene Denfeld has a beautiful writing style. This novel was near perfect for me. It was almost completely perfect. It was short, it was succinct, it was concise, it was poetic, it was metaphorical. I love the themes that it talks about, like I said at the beginning: life, death, mortality itself, responsibility, vulnerability, mental health, blame, guilt, human pain. Those are my favorite topics. I mean, that's why I love books like A Little Life, for example, or some other books that talk about this side of, this very vulnerable side of our human condition, which is really our essence, I believe. So I'm gonna read you my favorite passage from the novel. It's not very long. It's about a lady who is talking about her relationship with her mother. This is from page 104, by the way. It says, "The lady listens to her mom talk and talk and talk and feels the old doll ache inside her. This is her mother, the one who gave birth to her, pushed her from her canal, breastfed her, she was told, until she was almost 2, loved her in her own way, fed her when reminded, cuddled when she cried, forgot her at the park, never knew how to take her to a doctor, misunderstood thermometer readings, called the ambulance for colds, but let broken bones go untreated, couldn't set an alarm clock so her daughter never got to school on time, never bought a toothbrush or read her a book or cooked a recipe, but would hug and kiss her and loved her beyond all measure. All the usual stuff of growing up with a mom with an IQ of 69, the lady thinks. Is everything okay, Mom? She has been her mom's caretaker since she was 5. That was when she realized that her mom was one of them, a retard. The ones everyone made fun of. Even nice, normal people on television make fun of retards. Short bus, tard, retard, she has heard them all. She loved her mom anyhow. She wanted to protect her mom from the people who would make fun. So she learned how to cook and clean. She took care of her, and her mother's boyfriends took care of her. A circle of sickness and despair." The Enchanted is a deeply unpleasant book. It's a deeply poignant, beautiful novel. I deeply recommend it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars because I loved it so much. To me, that is like one of the highest ratings. I prefer to reserve and save my 5 out of 5s for the books that just make me jump out of joy and wonder and that I immediately think of as favorite books. And this was almost the case with The Enchanted. I think it still lacked something to make it extra super perfect and special for me, but regardless, I think this is a most beautiful novel, and it's incredibly relevant. So if you are hesitating about whether you should read this or not, I strongly recommend you to do it. I really, really think you should. It's really short. I read it in a couple of days, and the language is just very concise, but very, very beautiful. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next review.